everybody, and welcome to Sunnyside Nursery. My name is Holly Shippers. I'm manager of the seasonal department. And to my left,
hi, I'm Sarah Christopherson. I'm the plant designer here at the nursery, and this is the Holly and Sarah show.
today we're going to be talking about indoor and outdoor succulents. Indoor and outdoor what is a succulent? A succulent is a thick, fleshy stem or leafed plant that stores water. That's why they're so thick. They can store a lot of water so that they can go for long periods of time without. Succulents are a very good starting plant for a beginner gardener, both indoor and outdoor. You just need to have some guidelines. Proper lighting, proper water, and proper soil. The soil, you want to make sure for succulents that it is a succulent soil, which we'll show you a little later on, with more pumice and sand for drainage. For proper lighting, you need to where's your light at? Some succulents don't necessarily need light, but a lot of them do. So just kind of what's the lighting of the area, whether it's indoor or outdoor, of where you want your plant. Proper water. Now, you don't want to put something with tiny roots, like a sempervivum, in something that is so deep. What you're going to be doing is creating a lot of extra wet soil, and there's just not enough roots for all that water to be drawn up.
Keep in mind when you have a large pot with a big reservoir of soil, and the top part of your soil may be dry, but down lower it's going to have a lot more moisture, and it'll continue to wick that up. So if you think, oh, the top of the surface is dry, and you water it, you could rot out your plant. Sometimes that's the mistake people make with succulents, is they overlove them.
Yes, yes. So a shallow dish or bowl, make sure lots of drainage, no matter what you're planting in, would be best for the shorter rooted succulents.
These are some that have been planted up in a shallow bowl, guys that aren't going to get humongous and take up a lot of water.
There are some succulents that can actually take moisture. Angelina would be one, and blue spruce would be another for outdoor succulents. For indoor, you can do the echeveria. That can take a moist soil.
That's a real pretty one too.
Yeah, and there's so many different kinds. Yeah. We talked about the depth of the container. Now there would be an exception to the rule on that. If you've got a much larger growing succulent in with that pot, that's going to create a lot of roots, and those roots can help bring up the water. So the little ones up top with the shallow roots would be just fine. So there are some exceptions to the rule.
Yeah, they're going to help use up some of that water in that reservoir.
Yeah.
Besides beauty and interest, succulents can be beneficial to your health as well.
It'll work different parts of your brain, and it helps with your focus and your memory. And you can also use it, such as aloe vera, as a eczema cream. I also drink aloe vera. It helps for internal inflammation, and it works well as an air purifier.
Yeah, there's succulents that you have in your house and be very beneficial, just like any other plants that you have in your house.
So have fun. Use your imagination. Play with your plants. We're going to show you talk about some plants here, and we're going to show you various things of what we will be doing with these plants. We'll be planting them, making kokedamas. It'll be fun.
And don't be afraid to put different combinations of succulents in a container. The great thing about plants is if one plant is overtaking another plant and outgrowing it, you can take that combination apart and play again. Put them with something else.
Play with all their colors and all their textures. It's really fun. It's like painting with plants.
So, Holly, in-ground planting, some of your outdoor succulents, what do we want for those?
First, you want to find an area that's well draining. If it puddles all the time, it's not a place for most of your succulents. When amending the ground, just use a compost, and you can add some more sand to that too. That's just going to help with some drainage.
Sometimes you'll have a clay soil. If your soil is staying wet, you pick out some of it and you squish it together. If it stays in a tight ball and you can squish it around, there's a lot of clay in there, and that holds a lot of moisture. That is not what succulents want.
What can happen if you have it in a wet area and it's not a wet succulent is it'll either rot the foliage or it'll rot the roots. That's called root lock, so that the roots cannot bring any moisture up into the plant. Or it could be a plant that can get guttation. Guttation is the sweat. This plant is meant to absorb and hold and store a lot of moisture, but at some point is going to have enough. And that's when it'll start sweating. That sweating is called guttation.
It looks like little salt crystals, and this one has it all over the stems. It has it underneath side of the leaves. We've been overwatering it a little bit.
For your indoor succulents, make sure they're not sitting in a tray of water. That's just going to keep wicking more and more and more water up, so it stays wet longer. Most of your succulents are going to want to dry out.
It's always a good way in container planting to know how much moisture is in your container by lifting it and seeing what the weight is. And of course, when there's a lot of moisture and water in the soil, it's going to be a lot heavier. So if you get used to feeling what it feels like right after you've watered it and it's soaked up a bunch of water, and as it's drying out, and also sticking your fingers in the soil to see if there's moisture in there, you're going to get a good feel for what the weight is when it's dried out and you're ready to add water.
The succulent soil has a lot of sand and pumice that helps with good drainage. If for some reason you don't want to use that and you have regular potting soil and pumice, you can mix a lot of pumice into that soil, and that will also help with drainage.
Here's the pumice. And it looks like little white rocks, very porous. And the soil we use for most of our container plantings here, the Edna's Best from EV Stone. What sort of ratio would you mix those?
Oh, I'd probably do a quarter more. It already has some pumice in it, so you're just adding extra.
Well, if you just have a big bag of potting soil at home and you don't want to buy a whole separate bag of succulent soil, get a small bag of the pumice to mix in and you can create your own.
Too much isn't going to be too bad unless it's pure pumice. Let's talk some houseplant succulents. This is a Sansevieria. Beautiful striping. It's got a buddy here. We got a tomato growing in it. This is a succulent. Its thick foliage is meant to draw up that moisture and store it. So the reason it's doing that is because it's used to then drying completely out and staying dry for a very long time. So it can keep using its water that it's stored if you want to let it dry out.
Sansevieria is a tough plant. It's used a lot in commercial settings.
Yep.
It's got strong leaves, so it doesn't get broken too easily when people are walking by. And they can handle fairly low light, especially for short periods of time.
Unless it's got the yellow. The yellow will just turn green if it doesn't have enough light. If it's a green one like this one, mine is in almost total dark. It's in the corner of my living room, kind of behind the TV. Doing just fine. It's been there for 20 years.
And it's not generally what you think about with succulents. You think they want a bunch of sun, and a lot of them do.
Yeah.
It's very guy.
This is a Ripsasis. Isn't it cute? I think he's cousin it with antennas.
That'd be so cute in one of those head pots to make his hair.
That would be kind of cool. This is an Opuntia. Oh. This is Opuntia. Kind of purple and green and a little variegation going on.
Lavender variegation is gorgeous.
I love playing around with the colors, and can be some really cool colors in house plants, succulents. This is a burro's tail. Kind of has a look of a burrow.
This guy
Great
is
for a hanging basket.
yeah. When he grows up, they're gonna be big dreads almost hanging over the edge.
That's what they remind me of, is dreads. Yeah, when they're mature. Let's see. Here we've got string of pearls. That's just what it looks like. Bunch of pearls, and these are going to get really long. Very popular for a hanging one as well. You know, and you can mix the pots up. Don't just do one thing in a pot.
Yeah, I made a sweet little container for my sister for Christmas, and I used string of pearls as some of my spillers out of the container. I wanted some things hanging over the side where I also did my thrillers with my height and my fillers with some of the more squat guys.
Which we're going to show in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do a demonstration of the thriller filler spiller.
This is Aloe Pink Blush. Has kind of just what it says in its name, a blush around the edge of pink.
A lot of people don't know that there are a lot of different aloes out there.
There's hundreds. This is an aloe vera. This is the one that good for skin irritants, or when processed properly. I just go and buy. It needs to be organic, but I do 2 ounces. It's very beneficial for a lot of stuff. Great for air purification as well. That's aloe vera. This is a crashula. This is a little propeller crashula. You can see how it gets that look, or that name from its look. Crashula propeller. One of my favorites here is zigzag cactus.
That's a cool one.
Now this is going to get longer too, and you know you can see how it's all zigzaggy. That's a really cool one.
I might be dating myself a little bit. It looks like Rick Rack.
Oh yeah, you're dating yourself. This is a senecio. This is the pickle plant. The name just makes me giggle. This is a portulaca opera. Kind of a variegated foliage with a reddish stem. Very showy. And a lot of these would be really fun in a pot together. Believe it or not, ponytail palm is a succulent as well.
That's something I just learned. I've had one for 20 years and had no idea it was a succulent.
It stores, you can see it's kind of bulbous here. It stores its water in there.
And as it grows, it gets a bigger and bigger base to it. Mm-hmm. Another common name for it is elephant foot.
And remember, they're storing that moisture so that you can let them dry out, so it's like their natural habitat, as close as you can be for an indoor plant. Remember that indoor plants can be brought outside in the summertime when it's warm at night. So it's so fun to play with them for out on the deck.
Go slow. Like a lot of them really like full sun, but if they've been inside without getting direct sun, you want to go slow and put them outside in a shady location first and start getting them used to a couple hours of sun at a time and before they are out in full sun.
Yeah. This is one of mine and Sarah's favorites. This is Rock and Grow Boogie Woogie Atlantis. Really beautiful, that variegation with the yellow flower to it. This would be a bit of a spiller too. It's just beautiful.
And these ones are going to be hardy, plants that you can leave outside
yes,
around.
we're doing outside. Once in a while you'll see 1 or 2 of them in both areas. Some aren't that picky about being inside. This is a beautiful one. This is Sedum Mackinoy, variegated. It's got some very white, nice white edges. This will stay very flat to the ground. You can see, whoops. You can just sit that on soil, it'll root for you.
Root. They're easy to break, but you can just end up with new plants.
Just leave it in the soil. It'll root itself again. This is Sedum Mackinoy.
Those ones with those round leaves are so sweet. When they get their new growth, they look like a bunch of little flower buds. They're so cute.
Now look at the color difference in this one. It's going to have that burgundy red. This one is called Voodoo. It's got a beautiful hot pink flower that it's not quite open to see.
Yeah, it's all budded up, just ready to burst open and be fantastic.
The one behind you shows it.
Is that visible?
Or we can do
there we go.
This is one that Sarah really liked. This one is called Sun Sparkler Cherry Tart.
I love those dusty purples.
You can see some of the new growth. It's kind of a, what do you call that, a bluey green?
Mm-hmm.
And then the mature turns this beautiful purpley burgundy. Look at the combinations.
Colors, textures, they're so fun.
This is one of the succulents that will take moisture. This is Angelina. Angelina will be more chartreuse during the warm season, and then when we start getting cold, it'll turn a burnt orange.
She's a popular one, and we love using that one.
Now, because she takes a lot of moisture, does not mean she won't go drought. She will go drought as well. She's just one that will be safe in a wet foot situation.
Very versatile. Ooh, another one of my favorites.
This is Sedum carnea. Oops. Oh, that's the flower. It has I think it has a yellow flower. It looks like it's all spent now. But that's just going to be a slow creeper as well.
You got that lavender gray.
This is John Creech. John Creech is just going to creep along the ground, bloom for you. It's got a pink flower, kind of a pale pink flower. This is a popular one. It's beautiful, glossy leaves on it.
And a lot of these sedums, when you have them in a container and they start growing, they'll be a good spiller for you. They'll hang over and then show their faces and their flowers.
Yep. This one is Divergence. A little tiny waxy foliage, kind of a multicolored one, and this is also a low creeper. This is a cutie.
Mm-hmm.
This is Borkii Sport.
A little compact guy.
Little very compact, beautiful white flowers that have little pink in them. This is a gorgeous, another version of a variegated one. This is Tricolor. Tricolor, if you look up close, has a gorgeous pale pink with a hot pink center to it. Kind of goes with the pink variegation on the plant itself. Tricolor. This is another one I love. This is a variegatum. Look at that flower.
That has those hot colors that Holly loves.
Yeah, I love those. I love those colors. Very showy. Imagine a big area of this in bloom. It's beautiful. Okay, here we have Dragon's Blood. This is going to turn dark for you in the winter time. Beautiful pink flower, very similar to this one here. Dragon's Blood. There's a lot of succulent sedums that have the word dragon in them. I think it was popular back in the Dungeons and Dragons day. For those geeks out there that are like me.
There's plenty of young Dungeons and Dragons geeks out there too. My son's one of them.
Red Wiggle.
That's fun.
That's a fun one. And,
the new growth green and then the red for the older growth.
And you notice I'm getting a collection down here. I'll be able to use that back in my basket. With Red Wiggle.
We end up with some of these guys growing under our tables because they break and fall off and root underneath them.
This one's got a really itty bitty foliage to it, a flat leaf foliage to it, with a big massive flower bundle. This is a gorgeous one. This is Salsa Verde.
We're going through a lot of them, but we just picked out our favorites.
Yeah,
there are
we
so
have a
many
lot more
out there.
than this. Yeah, I wish that it was sunny out because then these would be open so you can see them. This is a Delosperma Oberg. This one has a pale pink flower to it.
Got this magenta one. When these are open, they look like little daisy flowers. They're very bright color choices.
And
not showing much at all.
When the sun goes away, they close up. When it comes out, they open up.
At least we've got a big picture on this one, so you can see the magenta with the yellow in the center. This one's a little bit more of a red with a white center. And the flower power on these commonly called ice plants is amazing.
This one is Ruby Mantle. It's got some green and burgundy going on. Kind of looks like little rosettes with the foliage. Ruby Mantle, another low growing one. Let's talk about some Semps. These are Sempervivums.
Hens and chicks.
Hens and chicks, thank you. This one's called Black. It's got little dark tips to it. Kind of a olivey green underside with burgundy tips. See,
Look at this burgundy red one. This is Super Semp Onyx.
Isn't that gorgeous? I love that color. This one is Red Heart. It's got red hearts to the center. It's just kind of the plant world's version of red.
This one's name is Rubrum, but part of why I grabbed this one is because I wanted to show the little cobwebby look. They're small, so it might be a little hard to see, but it looks like it has cobwebs all over it. We've also got the blooms that are just starting to open. And you can see on these Sempervivums, they kind of have this curl of blooms. They start from the center and continue to bloom out. Here's one that's a little further along. You can see all the spent flowers in the middle, and it just keeps blooming farther and farther out.
And all the Semps flowers can vary. Some can be very small, some can be really, really tall. We have the Sunnyside sign here has Semps in it, and it's the silliest thing when it's in bloom because it's got all these flowers poking out like Pinocchio's nose. This one is Black Mini. It's green and red. Beautiful one. One of my favorites. It's hard to have any one favorite in the plant world.
Here's kind of a fuzzy guy. Kind of looks like it has a little bit of fur on the leaves. This is Miss Manica. And we got another one here that's similar with that fuzziness. Very fuzzy little tips on it. Jade Rose.
Beautiful dark red underside to it. It's gorgeous.
Okay, well,
let's talk about this.
Oops, a little bit more upright.
His pants came off.
Uh-oh, losing his britches.
This one's going to be more of an upright one. This is Sun Sparkler Jade Tuffet. Beautiful bronzy foliage again with that reddish stem. It's getting ready to bloom for us. It's beautiful succulent, more of an upright succulent.
October Daphne has that blue foliage with the pretty red edge on it.
That's a really nice one too. You want to do the big one?
Come on, big lady.
So these are some more upright ones.
This one is Autumn Fire. Do you know what the flowers on this one look like?
I believe it's pale pink for that one. Which one was it? Autumn Fire?
Autumn Fire.
Oh, it's going to be a little darker.
Autumn Joy, which we will talk about when we're planting the container.
That's the old style.
Yeah, the old style, but still gorgeous. Of course, I like those antique colors, and it's kind of a beautiful mauve pink antique color that I just love. I have to have one in every garden.
And this one's called Chocolate Drop, for obvious reasons. It's got a gorgeous kind of brownish red color to the foliage and more of a reddish stem.
Kind of a serration to the leaves on that one.
A little bit, yeah. The same with this one. This one's got a gorgeous bluey purpley color. This is called Mojave Jewels Sapphire. It's very blue-gray and almost purple all through the foliage. Another upright, taller
nice big leaves
succulent.
On that.
Yeah.
Not as big as the next one.
No.
That's got some big leaves.
This one's got a little bit of a veining going on. This is Macrona. succulent called Macrona. Another bluish green foliage. Then it's got some red veining down the stem as well as its up its stem.
You can see what happens with some of them when you get water drops drying on them. If possible, you know, of course, outside here, we get plenty of rain in the Pacific Northwest. But if you can, when you're watering, water at the base, the droplets do leave spots on your leaves. Not harmful to the plant unless you're in a place with a lot of hard water and it really crusts on those.
Yeah.
But you can, you know, especially, you know, maybe if you have your indoor succulents and you have some of that going on, you can use neem oil as a bit of a leaf shine.
Oh,
and clean them up.
absolutely. I use neem as a shine all the time, and it also helps protect from some pests. This particular one has a pink bud but a white flower when it opens. So when you look at it, the whole plant looks like it's blooming pale pink. It's just different stages of the bud and bloom. That's a gorgeous one. Another upright.
I'm seeing more I'm going to have to take home.
Let's
We want to talk the remedies real quick?
so
Since we mentioned the neem
a
oil.
lot of I didn't bring neem in by itself. A lot of houseplants will get overwatered, and then they get gnats, what we call fungus gnats, and they're just annoying. They just fly all over the place. They annoy you. If you get fungus gnats, back off on the watering, but put in some systemic. Now, it's not going to kill the flies that are flying around. Those have about a 9-day lifespan, and then they'll die. It's going to help kill the eggs that they've laid in the moist soil.
And the little larval stage that's in the soil, eating rotting material or composting material generally, but if you get a lot of them, they can start eating the roots of your plants.
If you have something eating at your outdoor succulent, this is a product called 8. This is going to work as another systemic, and you put it in the soil. Or you can go the sticky paper route. This is for aphid and whitefly, or the little fungus gnats, anything that will stick to it. Then it just would hang in the area of the plant.
If you can put them in and not be bothered by the sight of it, sometimes it's nice to have those kind of things around just so you have something to tell you if you're starting to get fungus gnats or other critters, aphids, whiteflies, in with your houseplants.
Now there is a organic cactus fertilizer that is water soluble, but I do the lazy route, and when I'm watering all of my houseplants, I will just use the indoor houseplant fertilizer. So either one works.
So do you fertilize as often as you fertilize your other indoor plants?
Do I fertilize
the succulents?
No, you know, I have some aloe in my dining room. There's 4 4-foot ones in there that I water them maybe every month and a half. And they're happy as can be. I started them out as a 2-inch plant, and now they're 4 feet. I do that with most of my succulents. The Sansevierias go a very long time before they get any water. So some plants get water weekly, and some get every month, and some get every couple of weeks. So it just depends on the plant and its watering needs.
So how often would you say you give them food? Do you feed every time you water? If you're watering only every 6 weeks, or
again, depending on the plant, but yeah, I this time of year, spring and summer, is when you want to do the fertilizing so that they can store energy for the winter.
The time of year when they're putting on the most growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're using all their energy, so you want to make sure you're giving them nutrients so that they're constantly being fed as they're using their energy.
They need more energy when they're flowering too. You want to show the little cacti over there that are flowering so beautifully?
Look at that!
That's a little plant and a big flower, so it takes some energy to do that.
Yeah. Just like we do. If we're out running around, we're going to get hungry. We need to eat. Plants are the same way. They need to eat.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to plant something up?
Yeah, let's get our hands in the soil.
Let's do it. this out of the way.
Okay, so I've got my ceramic pot here. I pre-filled it with some of our cactus and succulent mix, just to get started. Figured you didn't need to see me pour in a bag. And we're going to work with the Thriller Filler Spiller. That's something that a lot of people are familiar with. It's kind of the lingo that's been going around. So I'm going to start with my height, my Thriller in the back. And I'm going to use my trusty Autumn Joy.
Remember, that's the old-fashioned one. They've made much brighter, newer ones since this one came out many years ago.
You can see there are a lot of roots here. I don't tend to rough up the roots too much. If they're really circling, I do. It's kind of been a long time practice to really rough up the roots when you're planting. Though a lot of the thinking now is shifting toward being a little bit more gentle with the roots, so they don't sit there spending a lot of time repairing the roots before they perform up top. But I am going to loosen it up just a little bit, just give it a little tickle. So I've got some that are, coming out a little bit, so it doesn't stay in this shape too much.
A lot of times you'll hear someone say, massage the roots, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And then I'm going to have the root ball, the top of the root ball, the same as the rest of the soil that I'm going to fill in. I want to leave in this size pot about a 1-inch slip, so when I'm watering, it's not spilling over the edge and making a mess. I want it to go into the soil. So I'm putting that guy snug toward the back. He's my Thriller. I'm gonna use a couple on either side of him for my next lower height down.
And this is going to spill over the edge.
Yeah, this is Sedum Rosy Glow. Nice blue-green. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't see this before. This is called fasciation. Am I pronouncing that right? Fasciation. These stems are very flat. They're kind of changing shape on us. Not harmful to the plant. In fact, there are some plants that they actually breed that into them. Because it's kind of interesting.
Cool.
But it's kind of neat to see what plants do sometimes.
And again, this one's it's gonna grow up and then start spilling over.
This guy, it's still pretty soft here, so I'm not gonna do too much to the roots on this guy. So he's gonna flank one side of my Autumn Joy. And so we've got a graduated step down. This one's a little smaller in bulk, but he'll grow. Sun Sparkler Jade Tuffet. Oh, I can't wait to see all these guys bloom. There's so many buds on these.
And it's just gorgeous. You've got your emerald green going on here. You've got your blue-gray, and now we've got our chocolate going on.
Okay. You want to hold him for me?
I will hold him for you.
I think
he needs a little step up.
Yeah, we've got smaller root balls now, so I'm going to add a little soil to this front section. Leave a hole. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, he's got his booster seat. Let's see. Situate him this way. And it's kind of fun just to play with the shapes of the plants. Plants aren't perfect. They're all different shapes, just like people. So you can kind of tuck them in different ways to fill in your gaps. I think I'll go with my ice plant next, since it's my next big pot.
That's Delosperma. And remember, this is the one that when it's not being sunny or lit up, it will close, and then once the sun hits it, it'll be bright open again.
This afternoon, when we start getting some sun, we'll have all those flowers open. And you can see just in this pot how it's starting to flow over the edge. So it's going to continue to do that for us.
You can do it.
Give it a little massage. Come on out. There we go. Okay. Again, you can see the roots pretty loose still. I'm not going to mess with them too much.
No.
Let's see. I've got them a little high, so I'm going to scoop out a little underneath them. to adjust. Get that root ball about 1 inch down. There we go, snug in there. Now I've got another purple one, the Sun Sparkler Firecracker Sedum. Love this plant with the purple and the blue in there. Now, what I decided to do, because this has so much purple, and I've kind of got the red purple over here, I'm going to go across. I didn't see enough contrast with these right next to each other, so I'm going to kind of do a color echo and put this on the opposite corner.
And it's going to be both this color and this color in between it. It's going to be beautiful. And that's got a hot pink flower to it.
A little bit more roots. I'm going to kind of just rough up the bottom a little bit. That one's already spilling over the edge. And then I wanted a little bright spot. This is one of my favorites. Atlantis. It's a I don't know how to say the names. I'm gonna try. Taka Cements? Sedum Atlantis. It's a Korean stone crop. But I love this creamy variegation in here. It's just gonna, with this one little plant, brighten up the whole container.
Look how some of them down low are just pure white leaves.
So fun.
Has a slight pink blush to it.
And just a little massage. That's pretty
small,
loose.
Yeah.
And get you around the front here. Excuse me, big boys. Okay. Now, I did not choose to put any sempervivums or hens and chicks in this. I think with all of these plants, they would swallow up those little short guys.
Yep.
So I didn't use it in this combination, but you'll see, we've shown you with the low bowls, they work pretty well, and with Holly's planting project, you'll see how she's used them. I won't bore you with watching me shovel more soil, but of course you want to get your soil and fill in all the spaces between the root balls, and then just have everything about 1 inch down from the lip, and then water it in. Then don't water it again until it's drying out. And this guy wants to be in full sun, which would be at least 6 hours of direct sunlight, but it could really take as much as you can give it.
It's gorgeous. So this is a basket that I've started. This is going to go in my driveway. You can see where there's mesh in the frame. I've kind of poked their roots through. You just kind of gently put them through. You can see I have sempervivums. I've got Delosperma. I've got the beloved Atlantis. All kinds of sempervivums. Really, I like to play with the textures of the foliage and the colors. Now this is cocoa core. This is what I'm going to put here. When I put the soil in, there's areas that it looks like it's going to fall out, and we don't want it to do that.
So she started out by lining the bottom with cocoa core.
Yep.
We sell this in 2-foot and 3-foot widths, so you can cut it to size and shape.
To whatever you need.
And when she was putting her root balls of her succulents in, she laid them on their side. So you can see that they're all facing out.
And again, if you've got gaps, like some of the areas down here, I didn't put anything through that hole, so I just put some of this so the soil doesn't spill out. I think one more right there.
So she's incorporated the sempervivums in here, but most of the time she has the sedums to the side and not over the top, so when they grow they're not going to cover that up. They're going to hang down here, and well, these guys will spread out and they'll have their little babies coming off. They're not going to be as vigorous as a sedum.
So I'm going to put the center in. Now this one's going to look a little small for a while. This is Rosy Glow that Sarah had put in that one as well. No, this one doesn't have a whole lot of roots. As you can see, half the soil fell away. But it'll be fine. I'm going to put that in, and then we're going to top it off with some soil. Can you hand me the bag? what we're going to do with this soil is we're going to put some more scents in. We're going to use some chicks. Get some over here. So this is going to work for putting some low, small rooted scents in. So what you're going to want to do is take those chicks. That's all you have to do. And you've got a handful of chicks. Put them where you want them. They're going to sprout. You want to show the wreath. You're doing the same thing with that wreath. And mix your colors.
You can see the stem sticking out there. You can pull those right off. Alright, I'll get the wreath.
Yeah, we did the same thing with a wreath that Sarah put together the other day. Play around with your colors, mix it up.
And we've got a combination of the sempervivums and sedums in here. Babies that are going to root in and then they're going to start growing. We're going to have the class teaching you how to make these living wreaths coming up August 14th.
Yep.
We'll work on kits to be sold and watch your email for information about that.
Now, you don't want to water these in when you do this. You will start with a moist soil, that's fine. But then they need to be left alone for 2 to 3 weeks so they can make their own sprouts, their roots. So you're just putting them on the soil wherever you want them to grow. Ooh, I want some of these dark ones.
Mm-hmm.
Just pull the little chick off. And that's going to be gorgeous against the rosy glow. Grab another one.
Tuck in those little stems in the soil. It doesn't have to have a lot of a stem. If you break it off and it's pretty close to the rosette, it's fine. Just make sure it has contact with the soil and
it'll just start sprouting its own roots. Now this one was already trying to root in the soil with Mama. So it's got little roots, little hairy roots already on it. And put some green over here.
You can also, if you're preparing for a project like this, you can take cuttings of your sedums, your hens and chicks, and let them sit out for a couple days, a week, and let that cut end heal over, and then you don't have as much possibility of rot or anything happening to your plants, especially if you have some that are rooted and you need to water a little bit.
Yeah. So you just want to keep filling it in, and you can. It doesn't have to be Simps. You could also use parts of the Angelina. You know, just play around with it. Just remember, some things are going to want to spill over. So those you'd want, you know, where they would be covering up your shallow, your low-growing ones. And this is going to make a beautiful container out in my driveway. There's some
little guy
Angelina,
that fell off.
Fell off.
Let's add him in. There's the Angelina.
And that's just going to root down. I've got some down here too that's going to hang over wherever it went. So that's going to be gorgeous. I'm going to be very happy with that in my driveway. Why don't we make kokedamas? So today we're going to make some kokedamas. Kokedamas are a Japanese style of gardening. Koka meaning moss, and dama meaning ball. So they're moss balls. We're going to, also known as string gardens, or a hanging garden. We're going to make us some kokedamas today.
This is my first time making one. I've seen them making them in house plants and they look super fun, so
Well,
I'm excited to do this.
I'm gonna drain the water out.
We've had the sphagnum moss soaking in the water to get nice and soft and pliable.
And when you put it in the water, just kind of work it with your fingers and it starts to mold together. It's best to use a tray like this. How the size you use depends on what it is, root ball wise, that you're going to be doing. Now, most things are not going to need soil added, but you definitely can if you need to. I don't have a whole lot of roots on this. It's got plenty of soil. So you want to gently work the moss around it. And it'll just kind of squeeze together.
I think we're swaddling our succulents.
And you just kind of squeeze around the root system as you go. It makes it a lot easier when it's wet, because that way it's
So
forming
we don't
in your
necessarily
hand.
have to use all of this, right?
No,
Okay. I'm making a big
it
old
all depends on the root. Now it's not going to look very pretty right now, because you're just not at that stage yet. But
not at the fluff stage.
just turn it into a baseball. Just kind of give it a good squishing. Now kokedamas can be hung in the bathroom, the kitchen. There's anywhere you want to hang one. Just like anything in a container, you want to make sure it's in the proper lighting. You take care of it, water it, just like if it's in a container. You would just have to, depending on the size of the root ball, put it in a bowl of water or a bucket if it's a really big one. They can be at any size. So you want to take your waxed cord and make sure it's waxed or it's just going to rot on you.
Did I go a little crazy or are we going to...
It's up to you. We're going to squish it. Squish it good.
Squish, squish. Okay.
So you want to tie that off and leave an end to it. Give it a good tight pull. It's on there at an angle. It's not around, it's not up and down, it's at an angle. So it's going this way.
Okay.
So it's
part
going
of it's
this
up,
way.
up by the plant top, and part of it's down at the base.
So taking that cord in your hand, you're going to pull tightly as you do and wrap it. And then turn and wrap it. And I've got a little bit of moss falling away at the top, so I'm going to add some more, and I'm going to attach it by wrapping it. And turn and wrap and turn. I'm going to add a little bit more. And I'm going to wrap tightly and turn, wrap, turn, wrap, turn. And you just keep doing it until all of a sudden you've got this kind of a netting look around it. Keep that tail out that you've left on there. Wrap it tight against around the top. Whoops, we lost a little of the burrow tail.
Sounds like a new plant to me.
And then give it another angled. Oh, we'll see. We'll see.
Potty talk.
We'll see what's left of this one when we're done.
The crafty projects are when we get giggly.
And this is
Am I
why
getting
you want to
this
keep
tight
the
enough?
tail out, because now it's tangled. Okay.
I got a big old chunker.
Yep, that's fine. Just squeeze and wrap. Now I'm going to give it one more round at the top, and then I'm going to tie it off to that end that I had left out. There we go.
I'm going to make a couple more rounds because I didn't really get under the bottom very well.
And you can still form that ball. Let me grab the scissors. So you want to cut that. And then you want to attach your string. Make sure you have some length because it's going to be hanging. You find an area to tie it off, and I do 3 strings on something this size. And you just tie it off. Couple of knots. Make
And
another
you're just
one.
tying it onto the string that's wrapped around?
Yeah. And sometimes it's going to be stubborn and not want to go under. Just push it through at the tip of the scissors. So go about 1/3 around. This one's going to be a little more stubborn. So I just kind of push it through with the scissors. Tie it off. Okay. We'll do one more.
I assume we just want this as long as however we want our hanger to be,
Well,
right?
right. And that can be adjusted when we get to the end.
So leaving plenty of length.
Leaving plenty of length to play with because you're going to want to balance it out when you go to put your knot. This one's being stubborn too, so I'm going to push it under with the tip of the scissors. And tie it off. If I can grab it with my fingers. Okay.
Oh, it's getting lost in the moss.
And this is when you want to hang it.
She's a little ahead of me.
Let those fall out. This is when you see where you need to pull up on the string so it'll hang nice and straight. And decide how long do you want it to be. Okay, and that's where you tie your knot. Now's the time to trim it. Anything you need, shape it more. Cut your ends off. Is there anything along here you need to trim? I don't want this moss sticking up, so I'm going to trim that off. Just use your scissors. Get all your ends off that you've done with knots. And you're just cleaning it up. Making it look presentable. So you can shear off any of the moss that you don't care to see that's poking out. Some people like it to be that natural look. It's up to you. There's some ends there I'm trimming off. Just don't get the strings that are holding it up. So I've done that before. So we'll just clean it up on the edge there. And you can do this in any size plant. That's entirely up to you. We've made some really big ones. We made some really tiny ones. And that's your kokedama. I'm going to get some of this off the bottom. There we go. And that is a burro's tail kokedama. That's fun. You can either leave it all natural like that, or trim it up. It's up to you.
I'm going to try to tie a loop at the top.
You can do it.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Little ragamuffin.
And then trim it up.
I like things a little shaggy, but this is maybe too much.
It's all personal preference.
Oh, it's cute. I like it.
I love the colors that go with the color of the moss too.
Yeah, this one might have to go home with me.
Make this.
You're so cute. I'm invested.
Get some ends here. Is this your first kokedama?
My first kokedama.
And I was there for it.
Oh, and so were all of you.
So have fun with your gardening, whether it's in a container, whether it's a kokedama or a basket outside. It's just fun gardening. We just loved showing you around the succulents. We do have succulents at 20% off through Friday. And take advantage. We'd love to see you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.